Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as we are one day closer to Florida LSU, Saturday, 3:30 down in the Swamp. One day closer to the best team in the National Football League, arguably the Detroit Lions, hosting the worst team in the National Football League. And you can't argue that right now because the Jaguars would have the number one pick in the draft. If the draft were held today, I think I saw Jacksonville as a 12.5-point underdog on Sunday going to Detroit. Ugh, that could be ugly. Florida State's on a bye, but of course the big news there is they just fired both of their coordinators 48 hours ago. So needless to say, there is a lot going on. And with that as a backdrop, I do want to spend a few moments each of the next three nights talking about how exactly we got here. I've been on the radio, thankfully, luckily, since 2002. It's a long time. I've been a sports fan, obviously, longer than that. I can't remember a year, because I don't believe there has been a year, where Florida State, and the Jaguars have been this awful combined. Some years Jacksonville's awful. Some years Florida's awful. Some years Florida State is below average. But never in the same football season. And this year, you could argue Florida State is literally the worst team in the Power Four. You could argue the Jaguars are the worst team in the NFL. And you could make the argument that Florida is a bottom feeder in the Southeastern Conference. It is awful. So over the next three nights, we're going to kind of take a look at each of these three teams. We're going to begin tonight with Florida in just a moment. How we got here and if there is anything to be positive about moving forward. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. We lovingly call him D-Rock. Always love talking Jags football with D-Rock, and we'll talk about the horrific 2-8 the Jaguars are, how on earth they get out of this, and what the futures may hold for General Manager Trent Baalke and head coach Doug Peterson. So Mike DeRocco joins me in less than 15 minutes. We'll also do more Jaguar talk in the 9 o'clock hour. John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, will stop by. But I want to begin tonight with the Florida Gators. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
You know, it's amazing. At 4-5, the Florida Gators are carrying the water for North Florida this year. Florida State, Florida, and the Jaguars combined only have 7 wins. Florida's responsible for 4 of those 7. Unlike Jacksonville and unlike Florida State, though, this was somewhat expected, right? I don't think, Florida fan, you're really shocked by being 4-5. We said at the beginning of the year, 7-5, 6-6 in a bowl game, and most of us would probably take that. And that's about where they are. They're going to have to upset one of Ole Miss and LSU. You probably want to beat LSU because I don't think you're going to beat Ole Miss. And then Florida State and Tallahassee. And if you beat one of these next 2 games at home, and if you beat Florida State, then you're 6-6 and you're going to a bowl game. So Florida is about where most of us thought they would be. Having said that, the way they got here has been wild. Wild. The season started off just horrifically, right? Get absolutely blown out at home by both Miami and Texas A&M. And you can admit it. After the A&M game, most of us, I'll lump myself in there, wanted Billy Napier gone. It's not working. You can't lose in blowout fashion at home to an in-state rival in Miami and a conference foe in Texas A&M, particularly with all the pressure that Napier had coming into this year. So we had kind of washed our hands with the Gator program, waiting on the new head coach, counting down the days till potentially, Lane Kiffin was going to come save Florida football, right? And that's all fine and well until Florida rattles off wins over Mississippi State, UCF, goes to overtime against Tennessee in Neyland Stadium on a Saturday night, probably outplayed the Vols, lost in overtime, and then beat Kentucky by 28. And at that point, a couple of weeks ago, at 4-3, I said at that point, I think Billy Napier is going to be back in 2025. And I still believe that. Obviously, Scott Strickland, the AD, released that statement last week supporting Billy Napier. And even after the Georgia game, I know it sucks to lose the cocktail party, right? There are no moral victories. I get that. But DJ Lagway gets hurt, which has kind of been the story of the Florida season, right? They got 1 million guys that are injured. And yet despite that, despite playing with a third-string quarterback against Georgia, it's 2020 with 5 minutes to go in the ballgame. How can you fault Florida for playing with that type of effort? I certainly can't. So even at that point, at 4-4, you're thinking, all right, it's about what we expected. Things are okay. Then the vote of confidence comes out last week from Scott Strickland towards Billy Napier. I don't think any of us expected Florida to beat Texas, but we said, look, if it's a game like Georgia, you're battling, maybe you lose by 2 touchdowns, that's going to be all right. But last Saturday in Austin was not all right. I don't care how many guys are hurt. I don't care if you're on your 7th-string quarterback. The University of Florida should never be losing a game 42-0 with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. That should not happen. That is a problem. That was their worst performance of the year. And now I think there are questions again about Billy Napier in this seesaw battle. Do you keep him? Do you not keep him? What are they going to do? Well, if they come out and they lay an egg against LSU, I think we're back to square one, man. I think we're back to where we were with Billy, maybe even after A&M, if they lay an egg against LSU and get blown out. Of course, if they beat LSU on Saturday, it's a completely different narrative. It is a total week-to-week thing with Billy Napier. Now, that's not a good spot to be in, but to me, that's reality. Some of you want Billy Napier gone regardless, and I understand that. But last week's timing of Scott Strickland making that announcement was weird, right? 4 games to go in the year to give him that public backing, that public confidence moving forward. Did they talk back channels to Oxford, Mississippi and find out Lane Kiffin wasn't interested? I don't know. Did they want to get ahead of it in case Florida looked bad against Texas? Well, if they wanted to do that, they accomplished it because Florida did look bad against Texas. I think Billy Napier has done some good things this year. It's not good enough. By no means is it good enough. But Billy Napier's future, at least for 2025, will be told over the next 3 weeks. If they lose all 3, he's gone. If they go 1-2, you could make the argument that he should be gone. 2-1, Billy Napier is going to be back in 2025. That's where we're at. And I wonder where LSU is, honestly, coming into this game on Saturday. LSU got destroyed in a playoff elimination game on their home field last Saturday against their arch rival in Alabama. Got absolutely destroyed. So their season's basically over, right? They're not going to be in the 12-team playoff. They lost by 30. And now they got to come to Gainesville against a desperate Gator team. To me, it's a very curious game on Saturday between Florida and LSU. Very curious. Excuse me. So that's where Florida is. Unlike Florida State and unlike the Jaguars, Florida is the one of those three where I don't think we're really surprised that they are where they are. 4-5, I think most people would have said, yeah, that's probably right. If I would have told you Florida State would have been 1-9 or the Jaguars would have been 2-8, you would have not believed that by any stretch of the imagination on Labor Day. But I think Florida being 4-5 is about what we thought. Billy Napier still having his job in question in 2025 in the month of November is about what we thought. This has gone about as planned. There's been some nuances, some injuries, some things that maybe looked better than we thought, some things that maybe looked worse than we thought. But by and large, 4-5, 3 games to go. This is about where we believed Florida to be. And I'll say it again. I don't think Billy Napier's future has been determined, even despite that statement by Scott Strickland last week. I think these next 3 games will tell the tale. LSU at home, Ole Miss at home, and Florida State on the road. You are going to be playing the worst Florida State team I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm 41 years old. You cannot lose to this Florida State team. I know it's in Doak Campbell. I know Florida has not fared particularly well there over the years. But if Billy Napier wants to keep his job, you absolutely cannot lose to the worst Florida State team in decades. And if you manage to get one, just get one of LSU and Ole Miss, to me it's a no-brainer. You're back in 2025. Again, heaven forbid you lose all 3 or you lose 2 out of 3. I think there's grave question as to whether Billy returns. Ironically enough, of Florida State, and the Jaguars, Florida is the torchbearer. 7 wins combined for the Noles, the Gators, and the Jags. The Gators have 4 of them. More than half. Who would have ever thought that? I'm leaning towards picking Florida to beat LSU. Not because I think Florida's better, but because I truly wonder where LSU will be after that Alabama game last week. I really do. They put a lot into that game. They got crushed. Their playoff hopes are over. Got to go on the road to the swamp. I do wonder where LSU will be. And if Florida does beat LSU, and Billy Napier's back in 2025, and at that point, he would have probably earned being back in 2025. More on the Florida Gators coming up later on Hacker After Dark. Again, we'll kind of give a synopsis of Florida State and the Jaguars as well as the week goes on here on Hacker After Dark. How did we get here? How are the Noles, the Gators, and the Jags a combined 7-22? Ugh, it has been awful. Speaking of that, let's talk a little Jaguars. My buddy Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. We'll talk with D-Rock about the loss to Minnesota. We'll briefly look at Detroit, but by and large, I want to do kind of an overview. Doug Peterson's future, Trent Baalke's future, Trevor Lawrence's future. What does all that look like moving forward here in Jacksonville? 2-8, the worst team in football, going to play arguably the best team in football on their home field. A 2-touchdown plus underdog. How did this happen? Mike DeRocco, we lovingly call him D-Rock, ESPN.com next. Tuesday night, Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. And as always, Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us.
In every game, there's a limited number of drives.
On fast, here we go.
And there's only one drive of the game.
That's a good old-fashioned rear-end whipping.
Listen for the Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville drive of the game on 1010XL.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here for John's Auto. They've been a staple in Jacksonville going all the way back to 1985. At John's Auto, they service all makes, all models, cars, trucks, diesel, you name it, they do it. Whether it's routine maintenance or a complete engine overhaul. Call John's Auto on Arlington Road. That's 904-743-3857 or go to johnsautomotivejacks.com.
Arrested? Got traffic tickets? DUI? License problems? Gun charges? Drug charges? If you've been charged with any crime, call me, criminal defense attorney Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
Ballou here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Swammin, when was the last time that you cleaned your air ducts?
Dad, I manage the air duct cleaning at Zero Res. Trust me, my ducts are cleaner than the plates after Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, I hope so, but it's not just you I'm thinking of. Everyone in Jacksonville should get their air ducts cleaned before the holidays.
You're right. Even though we don't blast the heat like up north, we still trap dust and allergens when the windows stay shut. All that gunk just recirculates through your home and makes your air quality worse.
So you're saying Zero Res air duct cleaning keeps my air fresh and ready for my holiday guests?
Exactly. Clean ducts means cleaner air, just in time for Thanksgiving. Plus, we've got a November special running right now. Call Zero Res today and we'll give you $50 off. No more dust, just fresh, clean air for you and your family this holiday season.
Sounds good, son. Now, how about that family discount?
We'll see, Dad.
Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com or call now. Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Spend lunchtime with the ladies.
Hey, where's your sense of adventure?
They don't cook, but they serve up spicy sports talk.
Sure, it's on the menu.
Helmets and heels.
That is a meal.
Switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans on 1010XL.
It's a game 80 years in the making. Join us for Thursday Night Football as we celebrate the 80th birthday of the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl game. The SEC and ACC face off January 2nd at 7:30 on Bill Gay grounds at Everbank Stadium. Don't miss college football pageantry on display as we celebrate our 80th anniversary. Tickets and hospitality packages are on sale now at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. Get yours today.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
In its final year, we encourage you to help create great futures for young people when you run or walk at Mackenzie's Run, Saturday, November 23rd. Join Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida for a 5K and 1 mile fun run through the beautiful stadium course at TPC Sawgrass. Enjoy food, live music, face painting, family fun, and more at our Runners Village. Register at MacKenziesRun.org. Mackenzie's 5K and Fun Run, November 23rd. MacKenziesRun.org.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
If you have a slow-draining sink or toilet that sounds like it's about to back up, imagine the potential plumbing emergency when you have family over for the holidays. Flush after flush after flush. Avoid holiday clogs with a call to DuckDuckRooter today. DuckDuckRooter will come and resolve those plumbing issues so you can enjoy a free-flowing holiday season. Call 904-862-6769. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com.
Make a crucial catch against colon cancer. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. If you're 45 or older, the ball is in the red zone to get screened. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. 45 is the new 50. Get screened for colon cancer now. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
This is David with Royal Pest Services. Join us Friday, November 15th from 12 to 2 with Helmets and Heels at Tony D's for our customer appreciation.
And there'll be free slices for you guys.
Tony, you've been down here long enough. It's y'all.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Lions come up Sunday at 1 o'clock up in Detroit. Detroit, arguably the best team in the NFL right now, and the Jaguars, well, are not. They are 2-8 and going nowhere fast. Let's talk about how we got here and basically what's to come next with my buddy Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. We lovingly call him D-Rock, and he's always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. D-Rock, how are you, pal?
I'm good, Hack. How are you?
Mike, we're good. The last time you and I spoke on air, Jaguar fans still had some hope, still had some promise of a season that could potentially be turned around. And all of that has been crushed and destroyed in the last couple of weeks. The Jaguars are 2-8. They would be picking number 1 in the draft if it were held right now. And I guess my question to you, and you're as close to this team as anybody, you're out there every single day. What happened here in 2024, Mike?
I mean, I don't know if we have enough time to go over all of it, but I'll say this. They overestimated the talent level on the roster. There aren't enough great players on the roster, and some of the good players or very good players are not enough to carry it. And the problem with the offense has magnified from last season, and there's just no growth on the offense. It's the same offense that we saw last season, and there's not really a whole hell of a lot of extra creativity here. Like, you turn on the TV and you watch some of these other teams, and you know, you watch the Lions, for example, and there's a lot of creative stuff that they're doing up there. Ben Johnson is kind of mixing things up. You know, you turn it on, and in 3 plays you'll see, you know, an end around. You'll see, you know, a little RPO every once in a while. I mean, it's there's a lot more creativity going on there. Now, that may be partly due, obviously, because of the limitations that they have here with some of their personnel, especially along the offensive line. But, you know, and then you flip to the defensive side of the ball, and it's just been a disaster. This is on pace to be the second worst defense in franchise history, behind only the 2020 unit. So there's just it feels like there's no connection between the offense, the defense, between the front office and the actual level of players that they have. It's just a giant mess. And I think everybody is expecting major changes when the season ends, maybe even, you know, next week after the game in Detroit. They have the bye week, but I think it's safe to say that there's going to be some significant changes, whether that's, you know, a complete redo or significant, you know, coaching changes or front office changes. Something's got to be done because it's just not working.
Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. D-Rock, people want to know, so let's just not – there's no point in sugarcoating it. Who do we blame more for this, Trent Baalke or Doug Peterson, or are there equal measures of both?
It sort of depends on the day where I go back and forth, to be honest with you. I mean, look, the blame belongs on both of them, no question. But this roster isn't as good as maybe a lot of people, including me, thought. Trayvon Walker has turned into a very, very good player. Josh Allen has turned into a very, very good player. Who's the other very good? Well, Tyson Campbell. Okay. But none of those guys are like elite players. And there's no other. I mean, Foye would qualify, I guess, as a very, very good player too. So, but there's no other, game changers on that defensive side of the ball. And it depends on you want a consistent game changer. And Josh Hines Allen has been inconsistent at that, as is Trayvon Walker, but they're really very good players. But there's no elite players. You flip it to the offense. Who's an elite player on offense? There isn't one at this point. I mean, we all thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be there, but he hasn't gotten there yet. Now, the question then becomes, well, whose job is it to get them to be elite players? That's clearly on the coaching staff. So I think it's a mixture of both. But, the second-round pick, Mason Smith, can't get on the field even when he is healthy. That's a guy that you were expecting to help you significantly. They share the blame, and it just depends on the day for me as to who gets more of the blame. But there has to be some kind of reckoning between the two of them with the owner when the season ends, because they've got to figure out what they're doing here. They've got to figure out what their identity is going to be, and then they have to start building their team based on their identity, whether that's with Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke or without Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke and two new people in position there. I'm not necessarily 100% convinced that Shad Khan will make changes and will decide on a new GM or head coach, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But the blame belongs pretty much on everyone, and the players shoulder a lot of that blame too. Let's be honest here. I mean, it's not the coach's fault when the guy turns towards the line of scrimmage while he's in motion before the ball is snapped. I mean, it's not the coach's fault when guys are jumping off sides. It's not the coach's fault when guys are dropping passes. It's not the coach's fault when quarterbacks are fumbling inside the 5-yard line because they're holding the ball out there like a loaf of bread. So there's plenty of blame for everybody.
That's a fair point. The players have underperformed, particularly the free agents that were brought in here have very much underperformed. Look, Shad Khan, I've said this for a while, I mean, he's been phenomenal for this organization in this city. Obviously, it goes without saying, everything that's done, everything that will be done over the next 3 decades is because Shad Khan decided to keep the team here. He did not have to do that, and he did, and we're forever grateful. To me, Shad's one flaw, and it's not really a flaw in everyday life, but it can be a flaw in NFL ownership, is loyalty. I think Shad is just simply too loyal. I mean, the fact that Dave Caldwell got 8 years here is preposterous. The fact that Gus Bradley got 4 years here and Doug Marrone was probably here a year too long. And I just wonder, Mike, has Shad learned from those mistakes, quite frankly, and will that help him in his decision-making this time around?
Well, I think he certainly learned from his mistake regarding Urban Meyer. I mean, that was a mistake that he had to fix. Now, you could argue that he probably should have fixed it significantly sooner than he did, but, Urban didn't even get 1 full season, and that's the guy that Shad really wanted to be here. The loyalty is a good thing, like you said, and let's be honest, sometimes the changes are made too soon, and guys need a little bit more time. You know what I mean? Like, you take the season away, for example, over at FSU, and nobody was happy with Mike Norvell until last year when it all seemed to come together for that 13-0 season. Now, obviously, things have fallen apart this year, so maybe that's a bad example. But if you had listened to the fans, the FSU fans, they wanted Mike Norvell gone. But yet then he manages to put the thing together and deliver that season last year. I know he likes Doug Peterson, and I know he likes Trent Baalke, and I know that fact probably bothers a lot of Jaguars fans. But the bottom line is Baalke hasn't done a terrible job. I mean, they're in this position partly because of the guys he drafted and that 2020 free agent class. Now, this free agent class, like you mentioned, has not been very good with the exception of Mitch Morse. So, it's only been 2.5 years. And if Shad makes a change at a head coach, it'll be his 6th head coach in 13 seasons as an owner, which you can't have a successful franchise when you're doing that. So honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't make a change. Now that obviously depends on how the rest of the season goes too. If they're 2-15, then he's going to make a change. But if somehow they manage to put a little run together here at the end of the season with a significantly easier schedule, then maybe, they give them another year together. They're both going in the last year of their contract. The defensive staff is almost completely relatively are all new. So, those guys, I think, got 3-year deals. So now if you're changing everything, you're paying those guys to not work for you. And I think Shad Khan is getting to the point where he's tired of paying guys not to work for him. So that might be a problem for him as well. But it really depends on how the things played out, how the rest of the season plays out as to how he's going to act. And the thing of it is, too, is he has a very, very small circle of people. So it's hard to really get a read on what his thinking at this point.
A couple more from Mike DiRocco of ESPN.com. That brings us to Trevor Lawrence. I guess we don't know yet. It's early in the week what his status will be for Detroit or moving forward. I would think because there's a bye week after Detroit, it might not make sense to play him in the Motor City because we probably know what's coming on Sunday, whether Trevor plays or not. And if you want to get Trevor back in there, give him this week and the bye week to have him ready to come back for Houston in a couple of weeks. But just your thoughts, Mike, on the season that Trevor Lawrence has had, and do we have questions about him moving forward here in Jacksonville?
I thought he's played okay. Not great, but okay. And he's had some really good moments, but he's also had some really bad moments as well. But I think we saw last week that the Trevor Lawrence is the problem crowd did not get the answer they wanted, because it's clear that Trevor Lawrence elevates that offense to a point where they have chances to win games, because that offense last week was just abominable. And I looked it up. It's weird. And then I know this is a tangent, but they had 143 yards against the Vikings. In their very first game of franchise history, they had 146. So let that sink in for a little bit. But, I'm not expecting Trevor Lawrence to play against the Lions. I think they'll give him, like you said, this week and then the bye to let that shoulder heal. Because at that point, by the time you get to, the game against the Texans, it'll be a month. And that should be enough for that injury to heal to the point where they feel comfortable putting him out there. I'm wondering how good or how beneficial the rest will be for him too. Sometimes guys, when they sit on the sideline for a little bit, it kind of calms their mind a little bit. They get a different perspective, a different view on some things, and that helps. I mean, I think you could look at Bryce Young the other day after sitting for a while, and he played pretty darn well the other day. I think Lawrence is still has the ability to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. I really believe that. He has all the physical tools. It's just a system right now that is not really functioning at a high level. And I think they need to go back to doing a lot more of what they did in 2022, a lot more motion, a lot more, crossing patterns. Trevor really seemed to thrive on those in the middle of the field, crossing patterns, get the ball out of his hand quickly, get him in a rhythm. I think he's a better quarterback when he gets into a rhythm, and he is a rhythm quarterback for the most part, and he can be streaky. So get him going, and when he comes back, and see if you can just spark something, because what you need to see the last part of this season is you need to see improvement. You need to see the offense start to work at a higher level. You need to see the defense start doing more things like they did against the Vikings and taking the ball away, and then maybe doing a better job against the run. But for Trevor, I refuse to believe that he's not going to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. I just think he's too talented for him not to be that.
Mike DiRocco, ESPN.com. D-Rock, as we wrap up, final question. Look, I, like you, was wrong about this team. Now, I didn't have them winning the Super Bowl, but I thought, they go back-to-back 9-win seasons. I by no means thought they were any worse than they were in 2022 or 2023. And the fact that they're 2-8 right now is just borderline flabbergasting to me. Are they shocked in that building, the way fans and media are that cover them? They got to be stunned, right, at how bad the season has gone.
Yes, they are. Because you can play this game almost with every other team too as well, but they're like, you can point to 2 or 3 plays in most of those games where if they just make the play, they can win that game. I mean, honestly, I think they're 1-6 or 1-5 in 1-score games, and that's the reason they're 2-8. Honestly, I mean, you just have to. And I think what frustrates the coaching staff and what frustrates the GM is, while it may not be as talented a roster that they have put together that they thought they had, it's still talented enough to be 500, around 500 at this point in the season in a division that's not very good and be a contender in this division. So I think there's some hope in the building too, that they can pull off a 2022 rally kind of thing because of the schedule that they have coming up. I think after the bye week, the teams that they'll be playing have 13 combined wins at this point. So there's a chance to do that. That's why it's been so frustrating for those guys, because they feel like this season could be so much different if they had made 2 or 3 plays a game. And when you're close, that's the most frustrating thing, I think, in anything. Like whether you're playing golf, you're playing basketball, or whatever it is, you're close to having success over and over again. And it's just a matter of 1 or 2 different things going your way and you have that success. So yeah, stunned, flabbergasted, frustrated. It's all in that building. And there's just this feeling of at some point we're going to snap out of this, right? But that just hasn't happened yet.
Mike DiRocco, ESPN.com. D-Rock, I know you're busy, brother. Thank you, as always, for taking time out. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Thanks, Hack. Appreciate you having me.
Appreciate Mike DiRocco joining us here on Hacker After Dark. And that is the most frustrating thing. And when you combine the fact the Jaguars have lost 6 of their 8 literally in the last, minute of the game, and then you look at the AFC South, it's garbage this year. It is the worst division in football. Tennessee is awful. Indianapolis is not very good, and they benched their top 5 quarterback, second-year quarterback. Houston is going to win the division literally by default because nobody else is going to win it. And Houston is 6-4, and they're average as the day is long. They don't beat anybody that's any good. Their one win of the year against a good team was Buffalo. That was a different Buffalo team 5-6 weeks ago. They play Green Bay and lose. They play Detroit and lose. They play Minnesota and lose. I mean, they're losing to all the good teams. So it's wild, man. That, again, salt in the wound. It just sucks because the Jaguars have lost all these games in miraculous fashion. The division was just right there, man, right there for the taking. But nevertheless, the reality is the Jaguars are 2-8, and they're not going to accomplish anything this year. It's kind of like playing down the stretch a little bit. 7 games to go. That begins Sunday in Detroit. Updating you on a college basketball score, UNF had gotten off to a great start this year with wins over South Carolina and Georgia Tech. The Ospreys might have run out of steam tonight. They're playing Georgia again, one of these paycheck games. It was close for a while, but the Dogs now lead 76-59 over UNF with 6 minutes to go in the game. Still, if you were to tell UNF they'd be 3-1 through their first 4 with games against South Carolina, Georgia Tech, and Georgia, I think everybody would have taken that. But it does look like Georgia's going to win against 76-59, the Dogs over the Ospreys. 6 minutes to go up there in Athens. Coming up next, back into the college game, Rick Ballou. You hear him every night into the night here on 1010XL. Let's talk about Florida State. Let's talk about Mike Norvell firing both his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator. What is there to accomplish in these last 2 games? And is there any question that Mike Norvell will be back in 2025? I don't think there is. But I do think that Mike Norvell better go 6-6, 7-5 at an absolute minimum next year, or he will be in trouble in 2025. Little Florida State talk, little Jaguar talk coming up as well with John Shipley of the Jaguars on SI. It's all right here on a Tuesday night of Hacker After Dark. Glad you're with us. 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
The big stories from the weekend's big games.
They're fans of football.
That's what Postgame Monday is for.
What a game. Amazing.
Brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff on 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. 100+ pounds down thanks to the best weight loss program I've ever been on. I mean, I could sit here every night and I could, tell you how great Awaken 180 is, and that's true. But you'd be like, oh, Hacker, you're just talking. Well, look at the videos, guys. Look at the stream. Look at pictures of me from February compared to pictures of me today. That's all the evidence you need. Because of Awaken 180, I've lost over 100 pounds. That's insane to think about, but it's true. Awaken180weightloss.com. Awaken180weightloss.com. If you need to lose a ton of weight like I had to, if you need to lose 20 pounds, anywhere in between, take it from somebody who's had their life forever changed by this program. And do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, and call Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here. And fellas, we all know that athletes train every day to perform better on the field, right? But what if you could enhance your performance in the bedroom? No training required. That's right. I'm talking about that secret weapon, Blue Chew. A chewable tablet with the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin that ships right to your door in a discreet package. No doctor visits, no trips to the pharmacy. It's all online. Their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strength for your prescription. They also have Daily Tad that contains 7 essential vitamins. And it's chewable too. And now you can try Blue Chew for the free ski. That's right, for free on me. Visit BlueChew.com and enter my promo code 1010XL. You only have to pay $5 for shipping. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. That's promo code 1010XL. Let your boy hook you up with some Blue Chew. Get your confidence back. Visit BlueChew.com.
Ballou here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Get down to the bank Sunday, December 1st, when the Jaguars go head-to-head with division rivals, the Houston Texans. You won't want to miss our My Cause, My Cleats game, when your favorite players get the champion causes close to their heart by wearing custom-designed cleats. Lock in your seats now for a 1 p.m. kickoff by calling 904-633-2000 or visit us online at jaguars.com/tickets. We'll see you there.
Tony Baselli gets up early Monday morning to share a big football breakfast with you.
Some French toast and sausage patties.
Hall of Fame Monday, 7:20 with Dan and Jeff on the Drill. Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida on 1010XL.
Visionaries, builders, and doers. Are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. Vision. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Our first contestant, a stay-at-home gymnast from Jacksonville, Florida. It's Gwendolyn Pierce.
Thank you, Monty. I don't know who installed my air conditioner, but it hasn't had a tune-up in over 3 years. Am I cool?
Let's ask our expert judging panel. Judges? I'm sorry, Gwendolyn. You're not cool. Johnny, tell her why.
That's right. To keep your air conditioner performing at its best, you need a skilled technician to check your pressures, voltages, and air filters in the fall and the spring. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, our club members get 2 free visits a year to make sure that you are cool.
Can you tell me if my haircut is sexy?
You're better off not asking.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Brackish Vodka, the official vodka of UNF Athletics, 100% made in Jacksonville, is available at all local liquor stores. Visit Browdy's, Total Wine, ABC, Shores, Golden, Sahara's, Golden Ox, and more. Drink our gluten-free San Francisco Spirit award-winning vodka and see why it's the smoothest vodka you can buy. When you drink Brackish Vodka, you support all of our local employees, and all the money stays in Jacksonville. Drink Brackish Vodka and live life slightly salty. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
I'm Jeff Middlecoff with Trustline Mortgage. My business partners, Alan Tyre, Bill Pappas, and Ken Rimley, have been helping first-time homebuyers with their mortgage financing all over Florida for 34 years. First-time homebuyers can get no or low down payments, anywhere from 0 to 3.5% down. As a first-time homebuyer with Trustline Mortgage, you get added benefits for doing your loan with us, like lower rates on your mortgage insurance and lower closing costs. Oh, and did I forget to mention that Trustline gives first-time homebuyers better mortgage interest rates? Here's the bottom line. Trustline Mortgage wants to help first-time homebuyers accomplish your goal of home ownership. That's why Trustline Mortgage is offering the best first-time homebuyer benefits around, period. Trustline Mortgage delivers with no and low down payments, lower closing costs, and better interest rates. Call Trustline Mortgage today at 381-LOAN. Yes, 381-LOAN to find out how we can help you buy your dream home. Or visit our website at trustlinemortgage.com. Trust your instincts and follow the line to Trustline Mortgage.
Certain restrictions apply. See office for details. Trustline is an equal housing opportunity. MLS number 331480.
Come on, admit it. Almost everyone you know seems to be playing pickleball now, right? So whether you just want to learn how to play or you're ready to show off your elite pickleball skills, the Y is the place for you. Visit our brand new McGuire Family Pickleball Center at the Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach. 5 top quality outdoor courts and 3 amazing indoor courts where you can learn about dinks, dill ball, falafel, the kitchen, and more pickleball slang at the Y.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now, the Seminole Point of View with Rick Ballou. Brought to you by Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard. Dream it, drive it.
A bye week for Florida State coming up this weekend, then back-to-back home games to close it out. Charleston Southern and Florida. The Seminoles 1-9 on the year, and the big story over in Tallahassee is the firing of both Adam Fuller and Alex Atkins. Both coordinators were shown the door. Let's talk about it with Rick Ballou. You get him into the night every night here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Rick, how we doing, man?
Everything's good, Hack. It's good to talk with you once again.
Yeah, certainly appreciate it. You get Rick every couple of weeks here on Hacker After Dark, talking about Florida State, and quite frankly, what a forgettable season it's been. But the big news in the last 48 hours is the removal of both the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, and just for good measure, the wide receiver coach there in Ron Dugans. Rick, your reaction to those 3 coaches being fired on Sunday evening?
Well, it's not a surprise, and you hope it's only the beginning. I'd like to see all the coaches go, with the exception of Pat Surtain. Odell Haggins has been there for 27, 28 years. I hope he sees the writing on the wall and announces his retirement. He's given more than half his life to Florida State, but his message isn't getting through to these future NFL defensive linemen. So I think he needs to step away as well. I thought it should happen a little bit earlier. I mean, I would have fired Adam Fuller even before Florida State had those successful years and won 19 in a row. He's one of the worst coaches I've ever seen when it comes to in-game adjustments. I mean, you can go to the BC game. You can look at some of those early matchups where teams just ran it right down Florida State's throat, and he stayed in the 4-2-5 defense, kept his safeties a good 10, 11 yards off the line of scrimmage. Just didn't do anything to try to change things. So a lot of buddy movement hires by Mike Norvell, guys who had not proven themselves yet at this level. He's going to have to turn that around. This time, Alex Atkins got caught lying and cheating by the NCAA. It cost them the first 3 games. The offensive line at Florida State is absolutely horrendous. And if you look at all the starts they have, it's really the biggest shock of the season that they can't run the ball. I'm a little conflicted with Ron Dugans because he was such a good football player on the other side of Pete Warrick, such a blue-collar guy, a tough guy, but he doesn't develop any wide receivers. I can't give him credit for Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson. That's Michigan State and Arizona State, respectively. So Dugans needed to go as well. And, again, hopefully it's only the beginning. Hopefully they're all gone outside of Pat Surtain.
Rick, you and I last spoke on air during this segment after the Duke game. And at that point, they were still battling, right? They were still competing. They were still fighting. And then the last 2 games in particular, North Carolina and Notre Dame, you hate to use the word quit or disinterested, but the bottom line is they've been outscored 87-14 in these last 2 games. Has the water come over the levees? I mean, has this team checked out in 2024?
I thought they checked out a long time ago. They don't play hard. You look at Napier's team at Florida. Those guys play hard. Even when they got blown, they were down 42-0. They didn't quit. They kept getting after it. Texas is a better team. Florida State has not played hard all year. They've just made mistake after mistake, and it feels like those kids have mailed it in. They're ready for the season to end, and I think you're going to see just massive attrition. Even some guys there that I think Florida State, and there's not many that Florida State fans would like to have them stick around. I think you'll see a few of them actually be surprise kids who will say that I want out of here. I want to go somewhere else to play. So this is a real difficult world now that Mike Norvell has found himself in. And frankly, he's to blame. They were left out of the playoff, but he allowed 28 kids to sit out in that blowout to Georgia. And he allowed many of those kids to come back with a feel sorry for me attitude, and it never materialized. He's got to blow that thing up. He's got to bring in new players. He's got to bring in new coaches. It's not going to happen overnight. You're looking at hopefully a 500 season in a year. Maybe you win over that in the Atlantic Coast Conference, but it's not like you just flip the switch and say, okay, Florida State's 1-9. They're probably going to end up going, 1-11 or maybe 2-10. And you expect them to get back to where they were before. This is going to be a building process. And I think it's so fascinating now because the way that this game has changed, you just can't go get these 18-year-olds who love Florida State and be convinced they're going to be there for 4 years or 5 years. It's going to be a really poor recruiting class. He's going to have to go back into the transfer portal and get guys and then, try to convince them that they can play at Florida State and have the love for Florida State. And I think for these kids, it's more of a business now. It's not the loyalty and the prestige of playing for these colleges. It's moving from one to another.
You go into the night every night with Rick Ballou here on 1010XL. Rick's with us here right now on Hacker After Dark. Rick, as you look into the future, is the starting quarterback for the Florida State Seminoles in 2025 currently on the roster? Do you believe in either Glenn or Croman Hawk, or do they have to go get somebody in the portal?
I believe in Croman Hawk, but I also believe that Mike Norvell has done a terrible job the way that he's handled the quarterback since DJ Uiagalelei went down. Right now, if I was a betting man, I would say they're going to go out and get themselves a transfer portal individual with a lot of career starts, offer him $1 million or whatever it is, and and get him to come to Tallahassee. It's going to cost him a quarterback. I hope it costs him Glenn. Nothing personal there. I think he's shown a lot of effort, and he's a good kid with a good attitude. I think the future is Luke Kromenhoek. He has not played well the last couple of games. I understand that, but the offensive line is terrible. They can't run the football. At least they're playing some of these younger freshman wide receivers to allow them to get some experience. I hope it's not Kromenhoek who leaves. If so, that is a huge blow for Florida State. I think that he is the future, but my guess right now would be your starting quarterback in September of 2025 against Alabama in Tallahassee is going to be a guy right now playing for another college team.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Mike Norvell's lived by the portal. It appears he's died by the portal here in 2024, but it appears they're going to be active again in this offseason. Rick, as we begin to wrap up, look, the bottom line is there are 2 home games left. They got the bye week this week. I mean, what do you hope they accomplish? Obviously, you want them to win the game. And the Florida State game, my goodness, what a battle of titans that'll be. But realistically, what is the hope among Florida State fan and your Florida State circles about what can be accomplished over these final 2 ball games?
Put together a drive. Put together 2 drives. I mean, this team scored 21 points on opening day in Dublin. That's the most they've scored all year. It is a terrible offense. They're 133rd. They're dead last in college football in total offense. We're talking about Florida State. We're talking about, 3-star, 4-star quality players, a couple of 5-stars on that roster that can't do anything. So, just putting together a 7, 8, 9-play drive and going 75 yards and scoring a touchdown, I think would be absolutely phenomenal. I know you can forecast it even through the bye. It's going to be Glenn who gets the start, then it's Kromenhoek, and then you're going to go into that Florida game, and you're not going to know. It's going to be the same deal. Mike Norvell's really hard-headed here. To me, it's blatantly obvious that Kromenhoek should have been the guy. You should have taken all of these snaps, and he's not. He's getting less snaps on a week-to-week basis. It's Glenn who he, for one reason or another, keeps going to. I know he's got a little bit of experience, what he did a year ago playing in those games, including the Louisville matchup, but kind of lost right now. This Florida State season needs to end today. If you could ever just not play 2 games, and I've never said that because I think the month of December, I look at Florida, winning 2 games here is huge so they can get that month of December and get those 15 practices in, and you want all of that heading into the new year. Obviously, that's not the case for Florida State. This season needs to end right now for the Seminoles.
Rick, final question. With Fuller gone, Atkins gone, Dugan's gone, what is the concern about recruiting with the first signing day less than a month away?
Lost year. Completely lost year. You saw the comments with Solomon Thomas that he made the other day, the 5-star here in town, and it's going to be the worst recruiting class that I think they've had perhaps ever. And I think the numbers are going to be down. I think you'll end up seeing Mike Norvell settling on guys that they haven't highly recruited, probably bringing in some lower-ranked 3-star guys. You hope that they have a love for Florida State. Maybe that's the direction that you need to go, is get kids who appreciate the school, love the school. Maybe they'll play hard and actually want to stick around, but they're not as talented as the kids they should be able to get after. This recruiting circle is going to be abysmal, but I think it's so huge when you look at Mike Norvell as to who he hires. He's got to decide now in the NIL period, do you get the best coach who makes your team the best as far as his in-game scheming, or do you hire now coaches that you know are going to be great recruiters? Florida State has struggled in the entire Norvell 5 years when it comes to recruiting high school seniors. They've done a really good job in the portal outside of this year, and they're going to have to go deep into the portal again. But I think this next hiring of coaches, he better bring in some people who understand the new world of college football and are really good high school recruiters, particularly in the state of Florida, where right now the present guys he's got on his staff are not.
You get Rick Ballou every night, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Rick, always appreciate you, man. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Take care.
The Truth Teller, Rick Ballou, here with us on Hacker After Dark. The offense is just crazy. When you hear the numbers that Rick laid out, it is wild how bad this team has been. And it's crazy, Denmark, that we're not even 90 days ago, all the hope of going to Dublin, Ireland, and kicking off against Georgia Tech, the first game out of the gates, right? Saturday, August the 24th. And here we are, less than 3 months later, 2.5 months later, and what this season has turned into to Florida State, which is the worst in over 50 years. It has been a wild, wild ride.
Yeah, you invested in the wrong players, and, you bought the wrong guys. It's pretty much that simple for Florida State.
There's no doubt. And I still say that Florida game, that's going to mean a lot to Florida State. I mean, it won't save their season, but it'll put salve on the wound, right? It'll be a Band-Aid if they were to knock off Florida to maybe keep Florida out of a bowl game. We'll see what happens. But Florida State's going to beat Charleston Southern because I don't believe there's a world where they don't beat Charleston Southern. Charleston Southern is an absolutely horrific 1AA team. They're like 1-9. So combined records of 2-18 a week from Saturday when Florida State and Charleston Southern get together. Boy, I bet that's a really hot ticket over there at Doak S. Campbell Stadium. More in the world of college football coming up. Also, we'll get into the NBA a little bit. We're more than 3 weeks in to the NBA regular season. The NBA Cup tips off tonight. Boy, injuries are the story in the NBA. Kawhi Leonard, Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, Kevin Durant, Chet Holmgren. Injury after injury after injury. Of course, Paolo Banchero down in Orlando. It's a battle of attrition for a lot of these NBA teams. We'll talk with Sean Devaney, Heavy.com, one of our main NBA guys here on Hacker After Dark. That comes up at the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. We are at halftime. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Remember, you can always stream us on all your social media platforms, Twitter/X, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. Just search 1010XL, and the MyBookie digital platform is there. Every show here on the station streams every day, and you can always watch Hacker After Dark there live on the MyBookie digital platform. More to do. Back into the NFL next. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Who brought the house to their feet?
Listen to this place.
Universal Roofing Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game.
Wide open and just what they needed.
Experience the universal difference on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Ballou for Shinatri Chiropractic. They've helped me get rid of my headaches and pain in my neck and back. Are you suffering from an auto accident? What about TMJ pain? Headaches associated with jaw clenching, grinding of the teeth, or stress-related disorders? Shinatri Chiropractic has a physical therapist on staff for rehabilitation, quality chiropractic care, dry needling, massage, and acupuncture. Call 743-6700 or go to ShinatriDC.com.
When you roll into a convenience store for some cold Bud Light, you want to make sure it's, well, cold. Check out the big coolers at Circle K. They make sure it's chilled and ready to go for the big game or party. Swing by Circle K and pick up some cold Bud Light.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
If you're like most Americans, you have a ton of credit card debt, and you're paying insane interest rates on that debt every month. Same for car loans and personal loans. Stop getting ripped off. Let Loan Pronto consolidate that debt for you at a significantly lower rate using the equity in your home. Hey, it's Prosser here, and Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line of Credit can get you up to $500,000. so you can consolidate your debt in as fast as 5 days. Their average client saves over $1,000 every month by doing this. Right now is the best time to act. With an Express Equity line of credit, you can access up to 90% of your home's equity, usually without an appraisal. Don't put it off. Get your financial house in order for the new year and call Loan Pronto now to see what you can save. It's a free quote and there's no credit pull, unlike the other guys. Call now, 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost are the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 23rd.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
Thinning or balding hair? Introducing scalp micropigmentation now at IHRS. SMP is a procedure for men and women, looks like your own growing hair, and corrects thinning areas. SMP is perfect for men and women who shave their head and want a full head of hair look. Call IHRS now, 904-777-IHRS, 904-777-4477, or visit hairforme.com today.
This is David with Royal Pest Services. Join us Friday, November 15th from 12 to 2 with Helmets and Heels at Tony D's for our customer appreciation.
And there'll be free slices for you guys.
Tony, you've been down here long enough. It's y'all.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This just in on Hacker After Dark.
Back into the Jacksonville Jaguars in one moment. John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. He joins me in less than 15 minutes. The college football playoff bracket has been released, at least for right now. If the playoff were to start today, of course, the playoff does not start today. But these would be the matchups as the rankings are out. Oregon is your number 1 team. No real breaking news there. Ohio State 2. Texas is 3, and Penn State is 4. The interesting thing with that is Penn State, because they're not a conference champion under the rankings, because obviously Ohio State's ranked higher than them, Penn State would have to play in the opening round. So let me just tell you how the bracket looks. That'll be the easiest part of this. Your 4 byes, if the playoffs started today, Oregon would get a bye, Texas would get a bye, BYU would get a bye, and Miami would get a bye. Despite losing last week to Georgia Tech, Miami still comes in with a bye, being the ACC champion. Your first-round matchups, and these games would be played on campus. The 12-5 would be Boise State traveling to Columbus to take on Ohio State. The 9-8 would be Notre Dame going to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. The 11-6 would be Ole Miss going to Happy Valley to play Penn State. And the 10-7 would be Alabama traveling to Bloomington to take on the Indiana Hoosiers. Probably the big story tonight, and it's not going to matter if they win out, but the big story for the here and now is the 12-team playoff does not include the Georgia Bulldogs. The Georgia Bulldogs are the first team out. They're actually ranked 12th, but because you have to take the highest ranked group of 5, Boise State, who is ranked 13, would get in over Georgia, so Georgia would be out. They're the first team out. Now, Georgia plays Tennessee this week. If Georgia beats Tennessee, this obviously will change. But again, your 4 byes, Oregon, Miami, BYU, Texas, your first-round matchups, Boise State at Ohio State, Notre Dame at Tennessee, Ole Miss at Penn State, Alabama at Indiana. Denmark, anything stand out to you based on the rankings released this evening?
That they have the SEC order 10, 11, 12, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia. It can obviously change, and obviously Alabama just had a really nice win Saturday over LSU. But we all know how these rankings, if you follow them the last couple of years, they kind of don't change. I'm not going to say they don't change. Once they have it one way, they kind of keep it the same way for the next couple of weeks. And that kind of, I'm going to keep my eye on that for the next couple of weeks. Georgia's got to have a significant win Saturday to beat Tennessee, and I think they'll be back in the playoff picture.
Now, let me ask you this really quick. You got 2-loss Alabama, 2-loss Ole Miss, and 2-loss Georgia, all probably controlling their own destiny still. Is the game for Tennessee against Georgia on Saturday, is that elimination game for the Vols? Because they only have 1 loss. They would go to 2 losses at that point, but they do have that win over Alabama. I was under the impression that the Georgia-Tennessee game is probably an elimination game. I think it is for Georgia, certainly. But if Tennessee loses, do they still have an argument?
Yeah, the more you look at this, if you have 3 losses, you're probably not going to make this playoff. And don't forget about A&M, too. A&M's a 15 seed. I think they only have 2 conference losses.
That's a
they
good
still
point.
have a shot to play Texas, beat them, and then you're going to have all kinds of chaos with, there's going to be a lot of 2-loss SEC teams, and I think that would come down to the final playoff on who we would find out who would play in the SEC title game.
Why is Penn State ranked above Indiana?
Because they had a close loss to Ohio State.
Okay, that's interesting. Again, Indiana, you want to talk about being disrespected. There's, let's see, there's 2
but who
Big
they
Ten.
Played?
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. But they do have a 0 in the loss column. And Ohio State has lost a game. Penn State's lost a game inside the same conference. They are both ranked higher than Indiana. Indiana and Ohio State are going to figure that out a week from Saturday. I think Ohio State wins the game, certainly. But Indiana, 10-0 is 10-0 in the Big Ten. There's no doubt that they've had a great year, but we'll see. I guess my question is, Indiana comes in ranked 7th. Can they lose the Ohio State game and still get into the playoff if they finish 11-1?
You're probably going to make the playoff. 11-1 Big Ten teams not being left out.
I wouldn't think so either. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. But again, the playoff is released. How about Miami losing to Georgia Tech, and at least this week, that not affecting them at all? Not only are they still comfortably in, they still have a bye in the first round with that loss to Georgia Tech last week.
Well, SMU has an undefeated record in the ACC, so SMU quietly is playing good football. Nobody's really watched them. We only know about them because when they played FSU and they beat them pretty good a couple weeks ago. But I think Miami's still the favorite to win the ACC. And in the ACC, it's going to be whoever wins the title. Whoever wins that conference is going to be the only team in the playoff.
No,
there's not going to be another team.
Does SMU need? If SMU gets to the ACC championship game, do they need to win that?
Yes.
Does Miami need to win that?
Yes.
Okay. What about Clemson? They're the other team that we're not really talking about yet.
Yeah, they're ranked 20th. And Louisville, too, 19.
Wow. It's going to be fun, man. Look, there are so many more teams that have a chance. And we knew this, right? It's not rocket science. You go from 4 teams to 12 teams. There's a lot more conversation, a lot more dialogue to be had. That selection show, the Sunday after Championship Saturday, is going to be awesome. Absolutely awesome. Remember, the playoff begins December 20th, and it goes for a month. Some teams potentially could have to play and win 4 games to win the national title from December 20th until ultimately the national champion is decided on January the 20th. More college football coming up in a bit. We'll also do a little NBA talk with Sean Devaney at the bottom of the hour. But coming up next, my buddy John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. Let's get back into the NFL, back into the Jaguars, and back into opinions on the future of General Manager Trent Baalke and head coach Doug Peterson. On a Tuesday night here in the city of Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark rolls on till 10 o'clock on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Players spend a lifetime building their bodies into finely tuned muscle machines.
Obviously, you want your star wide receiver to be in top physical and emotional condition.
Listen for the personal injury attorneys Farah and Farah Injury Update. Jacksonville on 1010XL.
Jags fans, looking for the perfect activity around the holidays? We've got you covered with the inaugural Teal Trot 5K. The race takes place outside Everbank Stadium, Saturday, December 21st. We can't wait to see you there. Your registration includes the 5K, a throwback Jaguars headband, and a ticket to the December 29th game against the Titans. Visit jaguars.com/Teal Trot to sign up today.
Hello, I'm Malcolm Anthony. I've been practicing criminal defense law for over 40 years. It's what I love to do, what I do well. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 2854-LAW. 2854-LAW for Malcolm Anthony.
Hey, this is Bert Cannon with the First Coast YMCA. Youth sports at the Y can help nurture your future athlete's potential and experience the joy of being a kid. At the Y, we're providing a safe, clean, and fun environment with basketball, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, elite skills training, and more. Best of all, participation in Legacy Youth Sports League is free with your family membership. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
Make a crucial catch against colon cancer. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. If you're 45 or older, the ball is in the red zone to get screened. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. 45 is the new 50. Get screened for colon cancer now. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
Stay in touch with the stars of Coral Gables.
From South Beach to Jacks Beach, stay on A1A for the latest from Miami on the Hurricane Report.
Brought to you by Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
On 1010XL.
Get ready for a smoking hot night at the brand new Cigars International Superstore at the Town Center. Friday, join 1010XL for a back-to-back live broadcast. Into the Night with Rick Ballou kicks things off from 4 to 6, followed by the Bueller Air Conditioning and Plumbing College Football Kickoff Show from 6 to 7:30 with Matt Hayes. Celebrate with 1010XL as we promote Saturday's grand opening of Cigars International. Swing by Friday. 1010XL is live on location from 4 to 7:30 only at Cigars International.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
You can make a difference in the lives of people living with lung cancer. To join the American Lung Association at the Lung Force Walk at UNF November 16th, log on to lungforce.org/Jacksonville.
The Farm Share Thanksgiving Distribution Drive-Thru event is Saturday, November 23rd at the FSCJ Downtown Campus, starting at 8:30 a.m. until the food runs out. Call 328-6158.
Join best-selling author, senior editor of The Athletic, and college football podcast host Jason Kirk for a discussion and book signing at Hendricks Avenue Baptist Church, Sunday, November 24th. Register for this free event at San Marco Bookstore.
Fight skin cancer by playing golf at the Melanoma Research Foundation Golf Tournament, December 30th at Queens Harbor for a day of food and fun. To sign up, call 904-507-1401.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
The last thing you want to be dealing with this holiday season is a septic emergency. Plan ahead and schedule to have your septic tank pumped out now. Our wonderful team at Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services is standing by and ready for your call. We'll get your septic tank pumped out right away, giving you one less thing you have to worry about this holiday season. Check out our reviews online and give us a ring today. 904-862-6769. That's 904-862-6769 or duckduckrooter.com.
If I was to describe this sandwich in one word, I would say magical. Hi, this is Jamor, and the little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich is that extra oomph. I go back and forth from the spicy filet to the original filet. I get into the sweetness of the honey, then you have the extra kick from the spicy filet. The combination alone takes it over the top. It's award-winning.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet, now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Holidays are here, and if you're in need of extra cash, Beaches Jewelry and Pawn can help. Gold is at record highs. It's a great time to sell. Bring in your gold for an estimate today. Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars head to Detroit on Sunday to take on the Lions in what might get really ugly really quick. Detroit, one of the best teams in football, where the Jaguars are now 2-8, have lost, 6 games in the final minute of play, and just have a lot of questions, and there are just really no answers right now. Let's try to find some with John Shipley. Jaguars on SI is where you find his terrific work, and John is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. John, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, my friend. How you doing?
John, we're good. All right, the last time you and I talked was after New England, and at that point, the Jaguars were 2-5, and we thought, okay, maybe they're going to turn a corner. Maybe they could make something out of this year. And then a loss to Green Bay, a loss to Philadelphia, and a loss to Minnesota. And now here we are with the reality that the Jaguars are probably the most disappointing team in the NFL. John, what's been your thought over the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, no, it really has kind of summed up where, things have gone wrong during the Doug Peterson regime. I mean, each of these last 3 games have been against quality playoff opponents, and each of the 3 games the Jaguars have lost by 5 points or fewer. They've lost by a combined 13 points in the last 2 weeks. So they've hung with each of these teams. It's just the little things and the little mistakes, continue to pop up in critical areas. 3 turnovers in the last 3 offensive possessions yesterday, not taking advantage of any of the Vikings turnovers. Stuff like that seems to pop up each loss the Jaguars have, and it's very clear that they're not, like the 2021 level Jaguars team who's just getting the doors blown off of them week in and week out. And it's clear they didn't have the talent to keep up with other teams. It's obvious the Jaguars have the talent to keep up with playoff teams like the Packers, like the Eagles, and like the Vikings. They just struggle to come through in the big moments. They struggle with the little things. And I think when you're consistently losing close games the way they are, I think you just have to obviously look at their entire process, coaching on and off the field.
The pressure is mounting on Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson. Trent Baalke doesn't have to meet the media every week. Doug Peterson does. I wish Baalke did, because goodness knows he has a lot of questions to answer for the nonsense that's going on. So let's focus on Doug Peterson, John. I know you're at every press conference. Last week he was asked about Trevor's shoulder before the Minnesota game. He brought that interesting quote about what he said, the duffel bag, and that could have an effect on his left shoulder. And I said it tongue-in-cheek. He was kind of joking, but 2-7 is really no time to be joking. He then called it a pain tolerance issue, which I thought was interesting. And then, of course, Sunday night after the loss to Minnesota, he basically gets on the media's case about, well, I'm not going to explain to you what happened on the Mac Jones interception, because essentially you guys wouldn't understand it anyway. What do you make of Doug Peterson getting, iffy with the media the way he has the last couple of weeks?
I mean, that's how he gets after losses. I personally, as a member of that media who, I'm sitting there while he's saying these things, I wouldn't say necessarily bothers me. It's just when you're coming from a point of saying you guys want to figure it out, well, okay, well, it's not our job to figure it out. It's our job to clear these things up so nobody's making assumptions. It's, I wrote this, last night. I went up this morning on Jaguars on SI. The media isn't here to figure anything. He's the one who has to figure things out right now. He's an offensive-minded coach. He's, a quarterback background. He was a quarterback. He's coached quarterbacks. He's, won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. If there's anybody who should be able to get more than 7 points out of a team with a backup at quarterback at the helm, it should have been Doug Peterson. But instead what you saw yesterday was Brian Flores, out-coaching and really outmatching the Jaguars' two most important coaches in Doug Peterson and Press Taylor. Those two, they are the offensive brain trust in Jacksonville. Everything the Jaguars do on offense flows through those two. And yesterday, they were beat by Brian Flores. Just as much as the Vikings beat the Jaguars, Brian Flores beat them. So that's really what my thoughts on it were. It's fair for him to think that way, but it's also fair for us to think, maybe he needs to figure some things out for himself.
John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. John, I'm going to flat out ask you because people are asking me, do you believe Trent Baalke and or Doug Peterson will get fired before the end of the season?
I don't think Trent Baalke would. You're not really doing anything firing the general manager at this point in the season other than, I guess, offering an olive branch to your fan base who would, obviously be happy. I don't expect that to happen. I've gone on record in my writing the last several weeks to say I do expect Shad Khan to ultimately have a new GM and new head coach next year. So I know that's not a popular thought, in Jacksonville, just because, the fans have seen Khan retain so many people, including Baalke before. And I know, even among our press crew here, who I love and respect, I think I probably have a minority opinion in thinking that the Jaguars will clean house. I'm just not sure if it's going to happen during the season. I don't think Baalke ultimately, I think he probably is a Black Monday type of guy, when to do it. Doug Peterson, I could maybe see it after this week against the Lions. Like if they just get, absolutely shredded by the Detroit Lions on the road and, lose in an absolute blowout, dramatic style, I could see it happening because you have the bye week coming up. It gives you a couple of weeks to really kind of reset things. But if they don't do it going into the bye week, I'm not sure it makes any sense to even do that either until the season ends.
John, as we make the turn for home, what's kind of the vibe down there? I know you're at the Miller Electric Center pretty much every day. You're in the locker room after the games. I mean, I would think it's got to be deflating, right? Losing these games over and over and over at 2-8 now. The reality is the season's over, even though there are 7 games to go. I mean, hell, they'd be picking number 1 in the draft if the draft were held today. Do you get the sense this team's going to keep battling, or is the levee about to break, so to say?
Yeah, no, I think the team's going to continue battling. I don't think, my personal opinion, talking to these guys over the last couple of weeks, especially during the 0-4 start and now the 3-game skid that they're on, I don't get the interpretation that they're a team that's going to point fingers or they're just going to really go belly up. I mean, I think you saw plenty of fight out of the defense yesterday. The defense has been much maligned all season. They've caught a ton of criticism all season. Ryan Nielsen has as well, and they came out against one of the more talented offenses they're going to play this year, just in terms of sheer, skill players and overall talent on that side of the ball. And they played a heck of a game. The yardage was up there, et cetera, but they made key stops. They held the Vikings to 0-5 in the red zone on touchdowns. They got 3 different takeaways. So I think you see plenty of fight out of this locker room. I do think, like you said, frustration is probably the word. I don't think that they're able to come to terms with exactly why the season's gone off the rails the way it has. And like I said earlier, it's not like they're getting completely, beat down week in, week out, and it's blowout after blowout. They're losing close games. They're in these games. And I think the fact that, all their losses but 2 have been 1-score losses, I do think that's also kind of left its mark and taken kind of a toll on the locker room and its morale.
What's your gut tell you about Trevor Lawrence, not only this week, but for the remainder of the year? How much do you think we see him again? And B, when do you think we see him again?
I do think you see him again. I think if you're the Jaguars, it probably makes sense to do it after the bye week. This idea that his injury isn't one that's actually, significant and that, he's choosing what to do, what not to do, et cetera, is outlandish. It's a very real, shoulder injury. It's something that he absolutely has to manage and something that the Jaguars, really in a way have to protect, Trevor from himself. I think that if you ask Trevor Lawrence and you ask Trevor Lawrence's camp, if it was up to him, he probably would have played yesterday. So I think the Jaguars probably, look out for Trevor and do what's best for him and at least hold him out probably this game to give him 2 more weeks to recover and then see after that. But I do think you see him again before the year's over. I think if he was going to have say season-ending surgery or not. I think that would have already kind of took place.
John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. John, you and I, I'm assuming, are going to be doing a lot of this in the coming months, but obviously Ben Johnson's the number one guy on everybody's list, assuming Doug Peterson gets fired. Let's assume Ben Johnson, for whatever reason, does not end up in Jacksonville. If it's not Ben Johnson, who do you hope it is?
I think Aaron Glenn is a really enticing candidate. I know everybody wants, an offensive-minded, coach and stuff because you don't want to lose, a play caller if you hire the right one, etc. But I think most importantly, a head coach, you need the right leader, the right face for the franchise moving forward, the right voice. And everything I've heard on Aaron Glenn is that he's absolutely exceptional in this regard. I also think Liam Cohen in Tampa is somebody to potentially watch. He's done really well coordinating Tampa's offense this year. He did wonders with Will Levis at Kentucky. He helped the NFL. I think Will Levis was a quarterback worth taking, roughly in the top 50. Obviously did wonders there considering what Levis has done in the NFL. And then, I think if you want to go the offensive, coordinator turned head coach route, I even think Todd Monken in Baltimore. If the MVP voting was today, Lamar Jackson probably wins his second consecutive MVP. And, you've seen the difference in going from Greg Roman to Todd Monken in Baltimore.
That's a good point. I'll tell you a guy I'm intrigued with, too. And I know it didn't work out for him in Arizona, but I'm intrigued with Cliff Kingsbury and what he's done with Jaden Daniels in Washington. I think that's a guy that could be interesting to talk to as well. We always enjoy talking with John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. John, tell the good folks here, Jaguars on SI, what you guys have coverage-wise heading into Detroit on Sunday.
Yeah, you can find all of our content at Jaguars on SI. We put out double-digit pieces of content every single day. I had a lot of stuff in the locker room, a lot of stuff in the practice field. You can also this week expect to find my mailbag and some more of me kind of looking at what the direction the Jaguars are probably setting for the future now that things are becoming a bit more clear on how the season's going to play out.
John, I know it's a busy time for you. Thank you for taking time out, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
Hey, thank you, boss.
Hey, bro, come through today, bro. We got a wrap, bro.
There are great plays.
Time's ahead for the first down.
But in the end, there's always a play that stood out.
Touchdown!
The performance-painting high-performance play of the game on 1010XL.
Hey, it's Linda Beaver. Whether you're new to the area or a longtime resident, you deserve the best and shouldn't settle when buying or servicing your car. At Beaver Toyota, we have built our reputation on trust. You can trust us to provide you the best price, the best selection, and the best experience. You can trust me, your neighbors can trust me, your family can trust me. We will not let you down. Come see us at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine to let our family take care of yours. Trust me, we're here to wow you.
Hi, everybody. Mike Dempsey here, and today I want to call a timeout to shout out Awaken 180 Weight Loss for their 10-year anniversary. 10 years ago, Paige had developed a long-term solution for weight loss that could work for anyone. She cut through the misconceptions of lose weight, quick gadgets, fad diets, and medications, completely revolutionizing the weight loss industry with real results. More importantly, lasting results. Free support for life was, and still is, the backbone of the Awaken 180 program. 10 years later, 23,000 clients have lost a combined 750,000 pounds. Clients who've eliminated the need for cholesterol medications, blood pressure, and even type 2 diabetes medications. People like me, your neighbors, friends, and family who wanted to take back control of their weight, health, and happiness. I, for one, am so happy I found Awaken 180, and I know you'll be happy as well if you make the same choice. Here's to the next 10 years at awaken180weightloss.com. That's awaken180weightloss.com.
Yo, what's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T, and I'm going to keep it real. We could all benefit from a little something extra in the bedroom. Blue Chew can help, and I'm about to tell you how you can get some for free. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. No doctor visits, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew ships right to your door in a discreet package. Not even them nosy neighbors gonna know what's going on. Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strength for your prescription. And did I mention the chewable? Just like popping a Mentos. And they're made right here in the good old US of A. Now you're asking, how do I get my Blue Chew? Visit BlueChew.com and make sure to enter promo code 1010XL at checkout. Try it for free and just pay $5 shipping. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. That's right. Use promo code 1010XL and let your boy hook you up with some Blue Chew. Get your confidence back. Visit BlueChew.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hear the Florida Gators all season on 1010XL. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors. Proud partner of the Florida Gators. And by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey, it's Mike Dempsey, and you know how I feel about Pella Windows and Doors. Great design, strongest warranties, and the highest quality product. I even chose Pella Windows for my own home. And whether you're a homeowner replacing windows or building a new home or a trade professional working with clients, I know the design experts at Pella will help your project run smoothly and look great. Visit PellaJacks.com or the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
There's something special about football under the Friday night lights.
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists Friday Night Lights.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning on 1010XL.
This is David with Royal Pest Services. Join us Friday, November 15th from 12 to 2 with Helmets and Heels at Tony D's for our customer appreciation.
And there'll be free slices for you guys.
Tony, you've been down here long enough. It's y'all.
Bull riding. The perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
If your IT, data security, and your office copiers are operating perfectly, you must have hired ABS, Advanced Business Solutions, as your technology partner.
Advanced Business Solutions.
The right talent.
The right attitude.
The right game plan.
The right amount of fight, pride, and determination.
If you've been injured, put our force to work for you.
Farah & Farah, here for Jacksonville, here for good.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Your musculoskeletal system carries the body, meaning that it maintains the structure against gravity. If you want your joints to stay healthy and seek the simplest solution, the best answer is to lose weight. Don't forget, the more weight you put onto your joints, the more pressure and stress there is on your hips and knees. This translates to more pain if you're already having issues. Losing weight is the quickest way to alleviate joint pain and boost your joint health. Go Jazz.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. And just like that, we're about 3 weeks in, if you can believe that already, to the NBA regular season. I guess the story of the NBA season to this point is the injuries, man. They are everywhere, including a big one to Paolo Banchero down with Orlando. Why are all these injuries happening? Can teams overcome them? Let's talk about all of it with my buddy Sean Devaney. He's covered the NBA for years. He's with Heavy.com, and Sean is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Sean, it's been a while, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, Ryan. How are you?
Sean, we're good. Thank you for the time, and we'll get into the individual teams in a moment, but whether it's Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Paolo Banchero, I mean, injuries are everywhere. Tyrese Maxey. I mean, is there a rhyme or reason as to why we've seen so many injuries this early in the year?
Yeah, there's been some talk about it maybe being, the style that has developed in the NBA, the sort of space things out, and that maybe leaves more room for injuries because you're attacking the the basket in different ways, and there's been those sorts of explanations. I don't know if I buy it. I really, these things just sometimes happen, and sometimes they happen all at once, and it looks terrible, and we want to try to explain it, but to me, this just looks like bad luck. I mean, you've got a bunch of very different sorts of injuries. We've got some superstars who are pretty injury prone, so we're talking about Zion Williamson or Joel Embiid or Paul George. I mean, these guys have had trouble staying healthy. So I don't know that there's really a big wide explanation that would get to the bottom of this. I do think that there's just an element really of very bad luck.
Down in Orlando, Paolo Banchero was off to a great start. He had an oblique injury, and the reports were 4 to 6 weeks. We're at about the 2-week point since Banchero left the lineup. Orlando's surviving, right? They're keeping their head above water. They're 4th in the East, although they're 5-6. So we'll get to the Eastern Conference in a moment because it's fascinating. A 5-6 team would be 4th in the East right now. But what is your thought on Paolo, and can the Magic survive until he comes back?
Yeah, and then, you mentioned the East, and that's a blessing for them, is that, they're not, if they were suffering through this in the West, it might be a much different story. But, the East, they've had a lot of teams dealing with injuries and dealing with slow starts. And, whether it's Philadelphia, Milwaukee, teams that are just not as good as we thought they were going to be. And that for a team like the Magic that has to deal with this early injury and hasn't been that pleased with the results, you're not losing ground in the race, so that's the positive. And the other thing is, they're playing against other teams that are dealing with the same thing. So, that makes it. You go back to that Pelicans game. The entire Pelicans starting five except Brandon Ingram was out. And so you're playing against other teams that are dealing with that as well. So, it's tough, but you kind of got to grind through it. They should have the personnel to withstand this, and not that the schedule isn't too tough. They should. You'd like to see more from Franz, obviously, and he's got to be more efficient with his scoring. You'd like to see a little bit more, maybe from some of the younger guys, Anthony Black, to really just pitch in with the scoring and replace the scoring. But yeah, I do think they have enough to at least keep themselves around 500, get Paolo back, and then be able to go on a run from there.
Sean Devaney, Heavy.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And you talk about the depth of this Magic team. Tristan Da Silva, the first-round pick out of Colorado, has come in for Paolo and actually looked pretty good. And when you got, Wendell Carter missed time too, but in comes Goga Batadze, and they still have Mo Wagner. I mean, Jonathan Isaacs missed time. Franz missed a game. But this Magic team is so deep that I think they're maybe the one team in the East that's built to withstand a bunch of injuries like they've had to this point.
Yeah, Da Silva's really been a really good find for them. To be able to thrust him in there and trust him to be in that starting five. That's big. Obviously, it's still a step down for Paolo, but he's been able to keep them active at that position, keep them from completely sinking. So that's been really good. And you're right. They do have a good mix of veterans that they trust and young guys that they're willing to give more of an opportunity. Whether it's Black, and of course we know Cole Anthony can score. So yeah, they're trusting those guys, and I think it does help to have Mo Wagner, who's obviously a polished veteran, and Gary Harris is somebody that they trust. So there is a lot of depth there in terms of, and I think it's a nice mix of young guys and veterans that they've got.
And again, the hope Paolo Banchero can come back anytime from 2 to 4 weeks from the time we are talking right now. Sean, in the East, before we go out West, you start seeing some trends, and again, a lot of injuries, so you don't want to weigh too much on this. But my gracious, the Milwaukee Bucks are awful. Now, they haven't had Middleton, and they've had some injury issues, but 2-8 right now, I believe, is Milwaukee's record. I mean, good grief. What has gone wrong there so far?
Yeah, and obviously they missed Chris Middleton, but I don't think he's the guy who's going to come in and fix all this stuff either. He's they've got a lot deeper problems. Pairing Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard, it really just hasn't worked. It just hasn't. Lillard is still a very good scorer, but he's such a defensive liability out there that teams really have very little trouble attacking him. I think one of the security blankets that the Bucks have had over the years has been Brook Lopez, but he's 36 now, so he's not moving like he used to. So it's kind of like age has hit these guys all at once, and there's not a lot that they can do to get out of it. The way the CBA is now, it's really tough for them to make any significant moves. They can try to make a trade, but they don't have a lot to work with. They don't have. I believe they owe their first round pick to New Orleans this year, and which New Orleans probably was assuming they'd get a 25 or something like that. It looks like that might be a pretty good pick this year. So yeah, they're really kind of backed up into it. There's a bunch of little different reasons, but I think to put it under one big umbrella is I just think these guys got old, and they got old too fast, and there's just not enough ability there to make changes in the roster, not with today's CBA being what it is.
And to put that in context, Milwaukee is 9 games back of Cleveland, and the season's only 3 weeks old because Cleveland is deciding they're just never going to lose.
Cleveland's going to go 82-0.
Right. I mean, why are the Cavaliers, with a first-year head coach, mind you, why are the Cavaliers so good right now, Sean?
Yeah, I think you do have to give some credit to Atkinson. I think that he's done a good job deploying what he's got and getting some buy-in there. Some of the problems that they've had in the past, they've been able to mask those over. The question of can Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland play together? They've been fantastic, both of those guys, and really they've been fantastic in every aspect. Whether it's passing, rebounding, they've been pretty good defensively, which isn't really their strong suit, but they've come to work together pretty well. And of course, they're two of the best scorers going. So yeah, I think it starts with those two guys, but the role players, Mobley and Jared Allen, have been really, really good. They've also, and this kind of goes back to where we started, they've been helping. And in a league where right now nobody's healthy, they've been able to be healthy. So I think that's a contributing factor there as well. But again, it's a deep team, and I think that's a group that's been together for a little while, so they know each other. And I think coming in with the new coach with that new energy, I think that's really been helpful for them.
Final moments with Sean Devaney of Heavy.com. You talk about the war of attrition with injuries. It's never more prevalent in the West. Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, Kevin Durant, Chet Holmgren, Kawhi Leonard. Need I go on? These guys are missing, weeks upon weeks of time, and it's about survival at this point in the West, correct? The Chet Holmgren injury, what does that do to Oklahoma City?
Yeah, that's amazing. He was playing so well, and they're talking about reevaluating him 8 to 10 weeks. So that would be sometime in early January, and that's just to reevaluate him. And they might reevaluate him and say he needs 8 to 10 more weeks. So they might say, we think it's probably best he not play again this year, which is entirely possible. That's got to be on the table with a hip injury like that, especially with his build and all that. That's always been the concern with Chet. Is he's so thin that he's going to be injury prone. If you throw him back out there before he's ready, you could do some long-term damage. So this is something that they're going to be really, really patient with. I'll be interested to see if when he comes back, if it'll be in time for them to still have a really good season, because he was really playing well. So that's going to be a pretty big injury. And of all the ones that we're talking about, that's probably the most important, because it's going to have the biggest impact on the race out there.
As we say goodbye, the NBA Cup is returning this week. Look, I thought this was weird last year. You and I talked about it before I saw it. I kind of got into it. Now, I think the point differential thing, I don't know if they've changed that, but when you got teams trying to beat each other by 50 points towards the end, I don't know if something needs to be done about that. But an in-season tournament, I kind of enjoyed it from the way the floor is laid out, honestly, on all these different home courts. I mean, it's kind of a cool deal. What's been the vibe from last year going into this year with the NBA Cup?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's the vibe hasn't really changed. I think it still is something that has generated some curiosity, at least, and the NBA needs that, because this time of year, and you can see it in the ratings, that they had a good first week in terms of TV, and then really dropped off after that. And that's what happens with the NBA is, once the new once that first week is over, it's really hard for the league to stay relevant until you get to around Christmas or so. So this is just a way for them to try to do that, to try to stay relevant, or to give some sort of level of curiosity. And I think it's accomplished that. I don't think it's really solved the problem of keeping attention at this time of year, but it will at least keep up some curiosity.
Sean, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, heavy.com and the NBA coverage you guys provide on the website.
Yes, we'll have lots of trade talk and stuff like that. So come check it out for sure.
He's one of the best. Sean Devaney, heavy.com, covering the NBA. Sean, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time, pal. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
And thank you to Sean Devaney, heavy.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. We're about 3 weeks in already to the NBA regular season, and the injuries are the story, as we mentioned. I mean, Zion Williamson, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Ja Morant, go on down the line, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, obviously Paolo Banchero. It has been wild, the amount of injuries, and substantial injuries, a long length of time that have taken place. And you look at Orlando, I mean, they're trying to survive, right? Banchero's been out about 2 weeks. It was projected he could miss anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. So hopefully we're about 2 or 3 weeks away from Paolo's return. Orlando trying to keep their head above water till he comes back, but they're dealing, like a lot of teams are, with just a slew of injuries, as we are only 3 weeks in to the NBA regular season. So we certainly spent some time on that, spent some time on the Jaguars tonight and on Florida State. As I talked about last night, man, 7-22, the combined record of the Gators, the Seminoles, and the Jaguars here in 2024. It has been wild. I've never seen anything like it in my time watching football. Just the amount of just not really even heartache, just disgust that a lot of us have in North Florida about the play of the Seminoles, the Gators, and the Jaguars to this point in the 2024 football season. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very busy Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Sean Devaney, one of our NBA guys, heavy.com. Always thank Sean for taking time out for us. Thank you to John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, for joining us, recapping the loss to Minnesota and taking a brief look ahead to the game in Detroit on Sunday. Thank you to the truth teller, Rick Ballou, for talking a little Florida State with us tonight. Offensive coordinator gone, defensive coordinator gone, wide receiver coach gone, as the axe has fallen on some of the coaches over there in Tallahassee amidst the worst Florida State season that I've ever seen. They're 1-9. They have a bye week this week and 2 home games left against Charleston Southern and Florida. And back in hour number 1, my buddy Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. Always love talking Jaguars with D-Rock here on Hacker After Dark. We will be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Hacker here, and last Saturday was awesome. Thanks to everyone who came out to my Countdown to 100 Awaken 180 watch party. The wings were flying, beers were being thrown down, and this guy didn't gain a pound back. I had reached my goal of 100 pounds